let's go through your photography, concept photography. In the same way, when you walk us through your shots, can also tell us about the important factors one should consider. Concept photography, like angles or lights, anything any techniques in the shoot.
Definitely. So I think we'll start with photos then.
Okay.
I'll pick up any photo you want to pick. Let's go this way. You pick a photo you find interesting here.
Okay.
Tell me which one it is, and I'll probably try to tell you what I've tried to do there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The orange one, the orange fumes behind.
This one?
Yeah.
So this one, I like it because of two things. One thing is the color, right?
Okay.
So I think even it stood out in my portfolio because of the same reason. So if you see, it's complementary colors going on in here. It's orange and it's a warm tone and it's a cooler tone on him.
Okay.
So that creates the separation. So on the color wheel, these are pretty much, this is not exactly complementary if you look at it like that, but it's a warm tone versus a blue tone. And red and blue usually looks good. They're very commonly used color schemes. Okay. And I saw the light setup happening then, and I really think that it stood out, right?
Okay.
And you can see that orange wrap on his face on one side. On the left side of his face, you can see the orange light shining. And on the other side, there's blue light. So it's a very, very contrasty image. And even the moment, right? He's holding a note, he's screaming it out. And it's a intense looking picture. So that is basically Raman Negi from Local Train.
Okay.
So I shot this image in Bits Goa.
Nice.
And
okay, those fireworks.
Yeah. So this was also Bits Goa. So it was an EDM show. So Tony Jr. was playing there. And what I've done with this is this is a very backlit shot.
Okay.
Right? There's no light. There's barely any light coming from my side, from where I am standing. You see all these yellow lights on top, right? These ones.
Yeah.
Right. So they are giving that separation here on the edge of his body. You can see this yellow. So he's clearly silhouetted. Your eyes straight away go to him. And more than that, in a way, the shot is kind of symmetric also, because there's four of these sky shots going up in the sky. And there's something called leading lines in photography. It's a technique that you use to frame your shots. It's not just in concerts or you do any kind of photography. There's rules that help you get a good image. And in photography, there's a common saying that rules are meant to be broken. But to a large extent, if you don't have a clue of where to start, rules give you a good starting point in photography.
Nice.
So one technique of getting your images, right? They stand out when there's something of visual interest in the frame. So you can bring visual interest either through color, through lighting, to framing. Okay. Mainly those three categories. So here it's a bit of both. It's using the light as well, where I told you I've done this outline around him. I've not done it, the circumstances such that the lighting was like that. But that is one thing. So I've already isolated him, and it's against a black sky, pitch black. There's almost no detail in the background, right? Beyond the pyros, there's nothing else. So that black and dark and white.
Light and color has
light
taken
and color,
care.
yeah. So when you put something very bright or something that has light falling on it against a pitch black background, it always looks better. It pops out. It stands out. Your eyes straight away go to that thing, right? And now that is him. I'm showing, there's a DJ who's doing this movement, right? The drop has happened. And at the drop, the pyros go up. So I wanted to get that moment right when the pyros go up. That peak energy.
God. There's no point for failure, no? Here,
yeah. So, and this was shot in burst. It was shot in burst mode. It's very hard to time it on a single click all the time. So it was a bunch of bursts. I think this one was the best one I liked. And leading lines, I forgot I was coming to leading lines.
Yeah,
so
framing,
leading lines, what they are is basically in the frame always, almost all the time, there is some direction in which your vision goes when you're looking at an image, right? As a viewer, your eye should travel all across the image.
Okay.
As a viewer, not just photography, any piece of art. It could be architecture, it could be paintings.
Even in our design,
film,
when we use
design,
UX, UI,
yes,
and our eyes goes on to some point, then to something. But they don't scan everything, right?
Yeah. It should be done quickly enough where they get the whole gist of the image. It's so quick. Your brain does it so quick. But it's a science.
Very subconscious.
It's very subconscious and it's a tried and tested thing. Artists who came before us, they've already kind of figured out most most of the visual techniques to do it. So if you watch like good filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock or like Quentin Tarantino or like someone like Wes Anderson, he does symmetry pretty well. Like his framing is top notch, his colors, use of colors is top notch, right? So they've also learned it from people who came before them. So leading lines, in a way, what they do is they get your attention into the frame. Okay. So now, for example, the truss that they've put here, right? Cross on which all the lights are mounted. So that is a line in the frame. It's a clear line, right? You can see these 3 lines going of all the bars, right? And from the sides of the frame, they're getting attention into the frame, okay, towards the middle, okay. And from the middle, when your eyes follow this line, they come and meet these fireworks, okay. And from the fireworks, from this line, the fireworks take it downwards, your vision. Okay. You come back here, you have another line here, you have a line of audience slightly in the background, the DJ deck. And so your eyes traveled.
Oh, now my eyes went to those, base of the firecrackers. There's yellow, like
yellow. See,
now I saw
so,
that.
because when your eyes flow like that, this is the brightest part. Usually, when something is very bright against a dark background, it pops out first. Your eyes usually go there. So with the artist, I did that because it's very contrasty, right? Dark and bright. So you realize, okay, there's a DJ, and instantly the next thing that probably happens in your head is the leading lines. You see what and all is happening in the frame. Like you said, the more you stare at it, more layers come across. And see, the audience is barely noticeable in these photos. Even though they're visible, your eyes never go there because they're not of any particular interest. And I intended it to be that way. I didn't want the audience necessarily in the shot. If I could get them, nothing like it. But if I can't, it's okay. My story was only this much. Okay, so that was breaking down one photo.
Oh, even that elevation.
Which one?
The person is elevated.
This one, yeah. So these are all timed shots.
Okay.
So this is pretty symmetric, like very basic stuff in this, I'd say. Center frame shot, so that usually if there's nothing going on in a frame, right, the eyes go straight to the center of the frame. More often than that. Okay. So I like center framing a lot. When there's a scope for it, it's the best and the most simple way of communicating your story or your picture to someone else, right? And even here also, you can see kind of these railings going towards him, and
pointing to the center.
Yeah, and there's all these lines. See, in the background, the LEDs are all coming towards him. You never notice it, but that's how the image gets your attention. So your eyes go all over the place, and there are these random light beams that are going sideways. And again, if you look at it, it's a color contrast. These are white, these are red. So there's quite a bit of difference in them.
Okay.
And
now I realize actually, the more you stare at the image, more details you get later. Like I think first only I'm staring at the image, I feel like I got all the information in the image. It's not the case. I saw the red, light in the background.
Correct.
Now it now popped my head.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between like an ordinary viewer versus a photographer looking at an image. Almost everyone in the world, when they look at a picture or a painting or whatever, right, they know they like it or they don't like it. Okay. And it's very person specific, but they like it or they don't like it. But I think as a photographer, you will figure out why you like it. What makes that image more beautiful than the other? It's because of all these things. How you layer your image, what elements you add in your frame, whether you use lighting, whether you used color contrast, whether you use leading lines, frame in a frame. So frame in a frame, I'll give you another example. This is another technique I like to use a lot. So here, if you can see, there are two things I've done here. One thing, use of light, right? And the other thing is foregrounding. Okay, so these symbols right here, they're very close to the camera. I've shot literally under a symbol, and there's another symbol in the foreground here.
Okay.
And there's a whole drum kit. So can you see this making a window here, like a frame?
Correct.
So I've put my visual interest in this frame, inside this.
Wow.
Okay. So everything beyond outside it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
Okay. And over there, it's a good moment where he's smiling.
He's in the moment.
He's in the moment, and he's just going to hit that snare.
The lighting through the air.
And there's smoke. There's light and shadow. So in cinematography and photography, there's this thing called chiaroscuro. Okay, so
what is that?
Chiaroscuro. It's a word. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
So it's CHIASCURO.
Pretty Russian it sounds. Okay.
Yeah. So it basically means light and shadow. Okay. So in most visual films, if you break down any image, if you pause a film, you will see them using this technique where they're doing dark, bright, dark, bright,
that
dark,
pattern.
bright. So it's like a pattern. It's not constant throughout. You give these layers, and what it does is it gives you depth. So you know light is falling here, and the darker part is in the background of the room. So it gives you this, as soon as you look at it, it gives you this depth. So right now I'm sitting here. In your camera angle, I don't know if it is going to be visible, but there's light on you. Relatively, your background is darker from my angle where I'm sitting, right? So you're already separated. So I know, even if it was a photo I've taken here, people would know, okay, the background is far away because lighting is not falling on it. The light is set up right here. So they know you're far away from the background. But in this angle when we're shooting, I think we're closer to the background, right? The
There's
difference is not too, the contrast is not too much here. It's very low contrast here, whereas where I'm sitting, it's high contrast. So people generally try to do that. They layer bright parts over dark parts or in between dark parts so that they stand out.
Correct.
Whatever
so
you want
is
to
really
stand,
important in the image.
Yes, always. So, and that's what makes images. It's either color separation, light separation, or framing separation. Like what you want to be the star of that image, right? The center of attraction. You use these rules and you see which rule works best. So there's so many rules. There's leading lines, like I said. There's frame in a frame, like frames.
This is nice.
Yeah,
really nice.
There's using scale. Like sometimes you see these pictures of tiny people in front of huge mountains. Without that person in the frame, you don't really understand how big the mountain is.
So it adds a perspective.
It adds a perspective. It gives you a sense of scale. It gives you a sense of depth, right? And more than that, when you see this light dark pattern, right? It's very common. It's used almost all the places. Okay, and what it does is it guides your eye through the frame.
Correct.
It whatever visual elements are important, they stand out. Whatever is not important, they're kind of hidden, and your eyes only go there. So it helps you sometimes it helps you hide mistakes.
Yeah.
It lets you get away with a lot of things. Like,
so you guys go way deeper than I like.
Yeah, really see here is another example for leading lines.
Wow.
Now can you see the
center effect, is it?
Center, yeah. One is center framed and all the lights are pretty much coming towards him, right? It's a simple shot. I think the lights were like this for a while, like at least 10, 15
is
seconds.
Is that table a glass table or something?
No. It is they had an LED on it if I'm not wrong. So it's an LED here and an LED panel right in front of the table. And yeah, that's just him playing. So
beautiful.
Even here you can see leading lines are always a good, see lights coming in here, lights coming in here. On this, see, compared to that other image, it's from the same show I shot, right? But this is all blue. It's a monotonous color scheme. But here what I've done is I've used contrast. Again, on a bright patch, I've layered a relatively darker figure. Like this shadow, his face is not well lit. Not that well lit, right? And here I didn't use color to separate him. The background is very bright compared to his silhouette. It's almost a silhouette, if I could say. And he has proper definition. He's properly separated out from the background. So it's about how you use light, how you use bright patches, and how you position.
Oh, that picture is crazy.
This one?
No. Oh, this one is, I mean, everything is crazy.
This one?
Oh, this is nice.
Yeah, I have
this one, like the lights are going in different direction at the top. Yeah, right one. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
This is also a nice shot. Not one of my favorite images, but I still like it. Like it's still a color scheme going on, like purple and yellow. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting shot. When I uploaded it, I liked it. I don't like it that much, if I may critique myself. But like, see, this is an example for a silhouette, right? So just that white line, see this white patch is separating. You know, it's a person.
Differentiation from the background. Right?
So this is from a sound check. I forgot where this was. This is ICER. This was in Trivandrum. So that's Jimmy in the frame. See, even here, black and whites. This is all colors, like contrast. Dark background, white, bright part, dark background, bright part.
The reflection from the drums.
Yeah. So the shine. See here, this is foregrounding. I've used the audience as, this is a frame, see?
Okay.
He's in between the hands.
Oh, okay.
So already and he's center frame anyway. And he's also mirroring their hands, like in a way. It's like a connection for me. The audience is putting up their hands with him. And again, you can see all these leading lines. Lines coming like this, lines coming like this. The LED screen is encapsulating him. That's bright. Here there's like more lines.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. Once you start seeing these things, right? you will see them everywhere.
Do you think of loss when you shoot an image or something?
Yeah. It becomes, at first I should think about, okay, I have to do this, I have to frame it this way. But the more you do it, the more you practice,
intuition,
right?
it gets into intuition.
It'll just automatically become a thing. Framing becomes easier. Then it's all on your environment, what is there in front of you and how you utilize it. And that is very important in portraits. In concerts, there's usually lights and all to help you out.
Okay.
In a setting where you're shooting a person on a street or like on the outside, like somewhere outdoors, you don't have control over light that much. So where you position the model, or like which direction they face, completely flat towards the light is also a bad idea, because then their face looks featureless, like it looks flat. So you need to have it at an angle so that there's a little bit of shadows. It should look chiseled, like there should be separation. The nose should look like, nose ka shadow should fall on the nose, like on the cheek. And it helps them look more 3D in a way, like,
Nice.
So it gives them depth. So in photography, that's the thing. Depth is one very important tool that you can use to tell your story. You can
make it seem natural.
Yeah, you can use lighting. If there's very dark, dingy lighting, the mood is sad or like dark. If it's very bright and like, there's a lot of light, it's an ecstatic frame. It's happy, or it could be excitement, or it should be grand. If someone is on imagine 40,000-50,000 people in a sold out concert stadium, right? And there's an artist on stage who's like this tiny. It shows you how many people are there. It gives you that scale. So all those are techniques that you can help tell the story, as it was, or make it larger than life. What your intentions are, you can make it look bigger than it was.
So it depends on the style also of photographer.
Yeah.
Like
if you want to keep realism, that's a different way to go. There's nothing wrong in anything. It's about what you want to do with it.
Subjective.
And
what about the angles? Like, how do you...
So angles, it depends on the stage, because sometimes it also depends on artists.
Okay.
So by that I mean, sometimes some artists have features that, like, if you're shooting from a lower angle, they might not look as good. Okay. And usually when you are shooting artists, you'd want to make them look good, because that's the whole point of, you want to make them look good and look cool.
Yeah.
And they're rock stars. So they have the outfits, they have their lights, they have their music. But it's also you getting the right angles for them. That is one thing. Other than that, it's about the moment, right? So like I said, if there's pyros involved, my angles will be changed depending on where I'm standing. For the back out, I'd shoot straight, flat, not tilted up, not tilted down. But let's say I'm in the pit right below the stage, right? And that time I can get images like this. See, this is right below the stage.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty much...
Is he literally posing for your camera, or you?
No, he was like, he was pretty much into the set.
Okay.
And he kept his leg on one of the monitors in front, right? And then he was just like bending down and playing. So I went on a low angle, because with low angles, there's a common psychological effect. Okay. So when you're shooting from lower angle and when the subject is higher up, they're looking down on your camera, right? They are given a more dominant feel. It gives them a dominant feel.
Correct.
So he feels like he's in charge, and like, that aggression, what he's playing, it's coming out. So I wanted him to look like big and like, like up close. But I also wanted to show like a bit of the light and all that. So angles like that. Whereas when I went, I told you, when I'm shooting from the back of the crowd, I use a longer telephoto lens, go all the way back as much as I can, wherever my frame sits right? And I get shots like this. That time you can see all these people dancing. You can see he's also jumping. So it's very flat up. It's not tilted up. It's not tilted down. It might be slightly tilted up because I was slightly lower than the stage, but it doesn't look like it. But in concerts, more than angles, I feel lighting and the moments matter. Like